personality and many of the same characteristics that we see in addictive families. And then I started paying attention to how children learn and how their self-esteem coordinates with their learning. And as I did, I founded a Sudbury school in Florida about 25 years ago, and now 2 in New Jersey. And what I have seen over all of these years is that every child that has graduated from our schools has learned to read with no one teaching them to read. Now, the educational system, the traditional system, doesn't believe that's possible. And yet I've seen it with hundreds of kids. And so I think that the issue is not nature or nurture, because when we get into these discussions, we're distracting from our own stuff. Not which school is better, because when we get into these discussions, we're distracting from our own stuff. But really paying attention to what works. What works for me to be happy? What works for our family to be happy and communicating well and being honest with each other, and what works for my child in XYZ school. And if we can figure that out for ourselves, our children will figure it out for themselves. Because most of us distract from our own hurt by paying attention to what's going on with our children, rather than to what's going on for me. And because I can assure you that no matter where you send, I was just telling one of the men on the panel before, my school does no classes, no required classes. And yet we just had a student score almost a perfect SAT with none of the things that you were brought up to believe they need. But the fact of the matter is he's very bright and likes learning and likes studying and crammed for the SAT. Honestly, I won't share a lot of personal stories, but I've done the same thing with 2 massive professional tests before I did the coursework, because I wanted to prove it to myself. Okay, the 8-hour Ed Leadership exam and the mental health counseling exam, both of which I took and passed with flying colors with no coursework for the tests, and did the coursework after. Because I have such a desire to say to the world, we've been fed a bill of goods about education. Self-directed people, which is what I want for all children, do it their way. Some may be to take traditional classes, some may be to take no classes at all. The first boy who graduated from our New Jersey school, and I'm sure the principal can appreciate this because he knows Marlborough well, took the SAT, having taken no high school classes in our school, and got the highest score in the town of Marlborough, a pretty academic community. Kids do what they want to do when we give them the freedom to do it. And I agree with Susan, though, freedom always comes with boundaries. We have the most respectful kids I know because they know the boundaries, and that's vitally important to human development for all of us. I know the boundaries when I go out into the community, so kids need to too. But I just tell you all of this because both as an educator and a psychotherapist, I don't think we're asking the right questions. So start thinking about it.
I think almost everything, every topic we get into, I just don't want to stop. I mean, because I know there are a lot more to share in this panelist. I have a few things that I want to touch on. One is we talk about know yourself, but also know others, the social skill. Especially that's a very common issue we saw, especially in those high achiever students. They know what they want, maybe, temporarily. They tend to be like oh, I'm already having, this is homework done, already being so good, then what else you expect from me? It's like they're not that sensitive to what other people's needs are, right? So in terms of the interpersonal awareness, right? So that's one topic I want, if anyone of you want to say something. The second thing is, I know there are a few very, very interesting kind of way of involving students. I know the Jersey Shore Free School is under remodeling almost the whole year, and that become a life for the students, right? So I know the new school always have this like annual biannual plays where students write a playbook, and every single one from the 4-year-old all the way participates, right? They sing the songs. And then also new school always go to so what they call New York trip to just hurdle this group of, how many, what's the age? 11 to 14-year-old, and to the train and just like walk toward the New York City, the subway. It's like the real New Yorker kind of life. So those are the things I feel are what our parents are doing with kids, right? Not necessarily a traditional school. Traditional school might just bus them to the Met and then do an exhibition and bus them back. You don't have the luxury to walk them around, right? So I want to, so for the time, so what do we do?
I think there's an easy answer to that. This is not how you create interpersonal, me talking at you.
Oh, okay.
This is how we create interpersonal, me and Susan talking. So think about every school in America. It's run like this. The teacher is getting the most out of it with the kids, rather than creating a circle where everyone has a voice and they're interacting on the curriculum, they're interacting socially, they're interacting with the ideas from their families, they're interacting, period, rather than the teacher being, and the same thing for families. When families create a circle, rather than mom and dad up here, the hierarchy of traditional family, you learn interpersonal skills naturally, because if I say something off color, she's gonna tell me. If I say something sexist, maybe he's gonna tell me. If my ideas don't make sense, my peers are going to tell me. If you give any group of children the curriculum, say, of whatever class it is, and this is what they need to learn, they are every bit as capable of the teacher as the teacher is of figuring out ways to learn it. So I suggest that we make all institutions, whether it's family, school, or business, much more interactive, so that interpersonal skills and professional, boundary skills carry out into society, so that they are learning daily how to interact appropriately with other people.
So yeah, that's like there's another major piece, which is a question and answer. So what we do, like there are so many good stories. We are still in our pocket. We have it, and also I want to know after this. I mean, we just cannot end this otherwise, right? What is your what's the question come to your mind, right? And I do have I do have an announcement, which is the fishbowl. All the fishbowl participants need to go out to meet Joy, so to prepare for the next session, which is the kids talk about what they want, right outside the door. So if we have audience in the audience, any fishbowl participants, go out, okay? And so you vote for. So we can do your school voting thing, like who want to vote for question and answer? Everyone here can raise their hand. And of course, there are other great things.
Ask them if they want to keep going, or
you want to hear more stories from the experts, or you
I would love to hear their questions.
Right. Oh, there are some. So this is the time. It's like, what you want? I do not know what I want. But I also think they enjoy the talk so much. There's a lot of brainstorm and whatever.
I can share a little bit possible. social skills training because it's interesting my experience. So I've written two books about social skills teaching. The title is literally like a curriculum for social emotional skills. However, textbook is absolutely not the way to teach social skills. It's a big no. I mean, we don't teach children social skills. So here's what we do. These are the steps.